The market has been absolutely brutal for a lot of different reasons. A lot of traders are struggling to adapt to this new market. But in this video, I'm going to give you a very simplified trading strategy that I personally use day in and day out. That's been my personal bread and butter strategy. It's been my absolute best strategy. It's where I made most of my money in trading. We're going to cover that in this video. But before we do, fam, we're live right here, the New York Open, day trade the NASDAQ. You see my green days, my red days, my full tilt moments, everything that involves me as a trader, you see live right here on YouTube. So smash that subscribe button. Also, if you want to skip the eval stage and go straight to a funded account, Tradify is running 30% off their straight to funded accounts right now. So use code JM to lock in the best deals possible with Tradify. Also, if you use Take Profit, they are 30% off with no activation fee. You can use code JM there as well to lock those in, fam. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into the charts here and just jump in and talk about what happened today and overall why it was so hard to trade today and why a lot of people that I saw on Twitter were red, right? The market overall today was pretty choppy, right? I mean, we had a little bit of a bullish momentum coming into the open and during the open, but then a lot of consolidation here, right? We had a lot of consolidation, but this is where the strategy comes into play, right? So I'm going to take off one of these indicators here, and we're going to only focus on the initial balance. If you don't know what the initial balance is, it's the first hour of the trading session. It is the high and the low of the first hour of the trading session, right? And that's what you see here. This is the line that marks the initial balance high and the initial balance low, okay? And what we're looking for here are failures of that level, right? These levels provide liquidity in the market where, you know, you can see a lot of rejections. You can turn into support, resistance. We're using these levels to identify failures to then target the opposite end of the range. I have another masterclass video on this exact strategy on my YouTube channel. So you can scroll back and find that masterclass that goes over this exact strategy. But all in short here, look at what happens, right? We have the initial balance low, okay? We have a lot of failures, okay? We're coming down, test initial balance low. We're breaking below initial balance low, breaking below initial balance low. Continue to break it until eventually you gain enough legs down here at the low to then rip up to the opposite end of the initial balance. And this happens all the time, right? This happens quite a bit, even vice versa on the initial balance high here, where you can get a lot of failures up here to then target the opposite end of the range. Like we can scroll back on the charts and go find different examples here, and we will here in a second, but look what happens, right? Generally, when I find trade setups like this, I am targeting at least 50% of the initial balance area, right? And so here, this yellow line is indicating that 50%, right? And so if I'm in a position, let's just say I'm like 8 micros deep into a trade, catching the failure of this initial balance low to target the other end, I may get to this 50% mark and trim maybe half of my position or even 80% of my position to try to let it run to the opposite end, okay? And so this, again, this happens so consistently. Let's scroll back, right? Let's just scroll back, find another example here. This is a rejection. This wasn't exactly a failed auction, but a rejection of IB high, and look at where we went, right? Here's a failure IB low. Look at where we went, 50%. Right, let's just scroll back even further. Here, we broke down below IB low. Now, granted, we fell quite a bit here, but once we came back in within the range, look at where we went, right? We retraced almost all initial balance zone there. Same thing here, right? See, here's the initial balance low. Look at what happens. We fail it. Where'd we go? Basically right back to 80% retracement there. We didn't go all the way, but we came pretty close. But we did, however, go all the way off this failure where we broke below it, got a little momentum to the downside, came back within it, and look at where we went, right to the opposite end. And then check this out. This is where it gets interesting. Once we fail the IB high, where'd we go? Right back down to the mid-range, the 50%, or this is more like 70% of the IB, right? So you can see how powerful these are. These provide liquidity levels within the market on that first hour of the session, right? This is the example where we didn't get a failure. We actually had continuation, which is another strategy for another day, right? So there's multiple ways that you can play these types of moves, right? Again, breaking down below initial balance low, but once we came back up within, right back up to IB high, or then what? We failed it, came right back down to initial balance low, okay? So there's tons of different ways to play the IB. You don't have to necessarily always play failures. This is a great example of a failure on the IB high. You see IB high, right? See that there? Look at where we failed, have these failures. Where'd we go? Right back to IB low, right? Let's just keep scrolling back. I mean, I can show you guys how consistent this is. Look, IB low. All right, see this? Failure, bang, failure, straight back into the IB. Where do we go? Right back to the IB high, right? Let's just keep scrolling back, dude. We can do this literally all day long. This was actually a, we didn't quite break IB low on this. We came down and got close to testing it. Then I decided to rip. This would be more of a continuation play. Let's just keep scrolling back here. See if we can find another example. This was another continuation play. Again, another strategy for another video. We're talking about failures right now. So here you go. Here's another failure. Look at this. IB high failed, right? We failed the IB high. Where do we go? Right back down to nearly the IB low. Let's just keep scrolling. Like we can do this all day. This is more of a continuation play. Again, we'll talk about that later. Look at this. Here's another failure. All right. See this? IB high. Look how many times we failed. And where do we go? Right back to IB low, where we then eventually failed the IB low and came back up to 50% mark, right? So you can see how consistent this strategy really is. Look at this. IB low. We broke below it, failed it. Where we go? Right back to the initial balance 50% mark, right? You can see, like, we can do this all night and all day. Like, you can see how consistent these are. Now, is there always going to be a failure? No. You can have a break initial balance high, initial balance low, and have continuation plays, right? There's more strategies. There's multiple strategies you can play around the IB. My bread and butter is looking for failures. I love the failures because I know exactly where I want to get in at and exactly what I want to target, right? It presents targets that you can then aim for in your position sizing. So again, these markets are brutal, right? These markets are brutal. It's not an easy market. We're in a completely different market than where we were with the previous president administration, right? There's more volatility. These moves are massive. They're 50.1 minute candles. So we have to size appropriately, but then really have a target and know exactly what it is we're looking for. We start getting into trades blindly, we're going to get slapped by the market. And this particular strategy, right? Granted, you have to wait until the hour of the market open, right? You have to get that first hour, but having this in place, this exact strategy is going to give you clarity and tell you exactly what it is that you're going to be looking for. I mean, these setups are golden. They're golden because they present opportunities that are low risk, high reward, and they tell you exactly where you can target. 50% range, trim position, try to aim for the other end of the range, right? Failure, back within the range, try to go the other end. Failure, back within the range, go the other end. Right? It just presents opportunities and high probability setups. Does it happen 100% of the time? No, it doesn't. Nothing in trading happens 100% of the time. If that were the case, we'd all be billionaires, right? But trading is all about probabilities, right? And so when you have something like this, you get those high probability setups. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I'm seeing it play out time and time again. I get a lot of questions from my community in my comment section about the initial balance strategy. Could I make another video on that? And guys, focusing on this, just one simple setup around the IB has made me way more profitable than trying to hop in on momentum or taking random trades throughout the day, right? It's giving me, again, clear setups, clear entries, clear profit taking, clear projections for my trades, right? And again, those high probability trades. But guys, if you like this kind of content, smash that like button down below, subscribe to the channel, get more daily content, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.